First, we have the WKU Hilltoppers traveling to play the Rice Owls. The offense on both teams look pretty good. Obviously, WKU behind Brandon Doughty, who has been very successful in the air, while Rice likes to run the ball.
Well, Dreyfus Jackson, the Rice quarterback, has to have a big game. He is a different quarterback than Brandon Doughty. Two outstanding quarterbacks in Conference USA, different styles. I think that's going to be a big battle. Who's going to win that? And I think right now for Rice, you've got to get rid of that hangover after losing to Baylor and the way they did. It looked like it was going to be a close game early, but Baylor's athletes are just so good. But I think Rice has got to forget about that. This is a conference game. And they've got to come out and somehow they got to slow down Brandon Doughty. We talked about how hot he has been lately.
Next, Marshall plays host to Old Dominion. Now the Monarchs are coming off two tough back-to-back losses at home, and Ray Lowry has kind of been contained these past two games, but it won't be an easy task as he faces the Herd defense that leads the conference in scoring defense.
Well, Old Dominion right now, their offensive line has got to start blocking. The last two games they have not been able to block anybody. Ray Lowry has no chance. This past week I watched him against App State, and Ray Lowry would get the ball. He was tackled in the backfield or at least touched before he even got to the line of scrimmage. You've got to open up some holes for him. This is a big game for ODU. Bobby Wilder said last week's loss to Appalachian State was embarrassing. Let's see who's going to stand up in the locker room. First conference game for Marshall. I think it's big, and the key is, will Devin Johnson play? We'll have to find out game time.
Now North Texas will go back on the road this week to play Southern Miss in the Golden Eagles' first conference game of the season. They continue to click on offense as Nick Mullins had a career-best 447 yards and a pair of touchdowns in their close loss last week.
You know, it's still early in the season. I don't want to say it's a must-win, but I think if you're North Texas, it is a must-win. You've got to do something. Their quarterback situation, I'm not sure it's settled right now, and I think they've got to get something going offensively. They can run the football. I don't think there's any question about that, but they got to find a way to stop people. I think this is a tough game, obviously, for North Texas because you're going to Southern Miss. You mentioned Nick Mullins. He has been hot as of late. That crowd's going to be ready to go, and Southern Miss feels that they're getting closer and closer to a possible bowl game this year. It's going to be a tough game for North Texas, I think.
UTSA and UTEP will face off in El Paso in their first conference games for both of the teams. Now the two teams have kind of developed somewhat of a rivalry, and it's sure to be a pretty intense game, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talking to Sean Kugler back in July, he said this is a great Texas rivalry game, and they're going to continue to try to make that. They're going against the UTSA team that's third in the league in rushing right now. They've got to get something going, and I think right now you look at Jarvion Williams' school record, 170 yards rushing for UTSA. That is huge. Can they run the ball against UTEP? But I think the key here is last year they played in San Antonio, and UTEP dominated that. UTSA has not forgotten that loss, and I think it's going to be a heck of a battle in El Paso this weekend.
Then lastly, Middle Tennessee will host their SEC opponent Vanderbilt. Now the Blue Raiders will look to be the second CUSA team to beat Vandy this season, and they'll look for their fourth straight win against the Commodores.
Oh, Western Kentucky's already beaten Vandy, so we got a little precedent here in Conference USA. But you look at the job Rick Stockstill has done, especially on the offensive side of the football. They're the only school in the FBS with two receivers, top 10 in receptions, freshman Richie James and senior Ed Batiste. This is an offense that can really roll right now. And I think if you're Vanderbilt, you got to be able to stop these guys. I don't think they're going to. A great battle inside that state. You have to play at Middle Tennessee. I think Middle Tennessee wins another one against Vanderbilt.
Now here's a look at the full schedule of games for Week 5. After this week, every team will have played a conference game in our league. So where are you headed to this weekend, Ron?
I will be heading to Ruston, Louisiana for Louisiana Tech. Can't wait to see my buddy Skip Holtz there. This is going to be a good game. About a 3-hour drive separates these two teams. The Raging Cajuns of Lafayette, they have not had much luck versus Louisiana Tech. They've lost 7 straight to Louisiana Tech. And then you look at Tech, they've won 6 straight home games. And in that 6-game home stretch, you got to look at how they dominated teams. They have absolutely taken control of the football game. I think the Raging Cajuns are going to get whacked in this game, to be honest with you, because I think Louisiana Tech right now, they're playing well. That's a good football team.